President Mahmoud Abbas met on Tuesday with his Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan at the presidential palace in Ankara as part of an official visit to Turkey. In Argentina, demonstrators gathered for the second consecutive day outside the Telam building in protest against the illegal closure of this news agency implemented by President Javier Milei. And Venezuela's National Electoral Council announced Tuesday that the presidential elections in the Bolivarian nation will be held on July 28, 2024. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, 97 civilians were killed in the last 24 hours after Israeli shelling targeted homes in the cities of Gaza and Khan Yunis. Israel intensified its bombardment of different points in the Gaza Strip, which left families trapped under the rubble of residential buildings. Israeli airstrikes killed 25 civilians in Khan Yunis, 17 of whom were killed in the shelling of the Al-Fakawi family house. At the same time, several citizens were wounded in an Israeli bombardment in Al-Rashid Street. During the last day, the occupation army fighter jets launched violent attacks on several areas in the north and south of the Gaza Strip. On the other hand, medical sources at the Shifa Medical Complex in Gaza City reported the arrival of 9 dead. Several medical facilities throughout the territory were forced to close due to damage and lack of electricity. In the occupied West Bank, Israeli occupation forces today detained at least 22 Palestinians, including 2 female former prisoners and a woman, during large-scale detention campaigns, according to the Detainees Affairs Authority. The detention campaigns were distributed in the governorates of Ramallah, Al-Bireh, Hebron, Nablus, Tulkram, and Kalkija, and Jericho, where they were accompanied by acts of abuse, severe beatings, and threats against detainees and their families. The total number of arrests increased since the beginning of the conflict on October 7th to more than 7,422 people. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry based in Ramallah, at least 420 Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank by Israeli troops and settles since the conflict broke out. Relatives of 10-year-old Amr Najjar, who was killed during an Israeli raid on Monday, mourn over his body ahead of his funeral in the occupied West Bank village of Burin, south of Nablus.
I called his father and he told me Amma was mad tired. I went outside and started screaming. There were no tears. I didn't wail like other mothers. God brought patience to my heart. I went to his school 2 days ago to check on him. The teacher told me, "You came to ask about his politeness and cleverness?" He said Amma is the most polite child in all of Burin.
President Mahmoud Abbas met on Tuesday with his Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan at the presidential palace in Ankara as part of an official visit to Turkey, during which they discussed the latest developments in the Palestinian arena. During the meeting, President Abbas reviewed the latest developments in the Palestinian arena, the ongoing contacts with all parties to immediately stop the Israeli aggression against the Palestinian people, and the introduction of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip, especially to the north, which is suffering from a real and unprecedented famine. President Abbas thanked his Turkish counterpart for his unwavering positions in support of the Palestinian people and efforts to advocate their just cause in the International Court of Justice and at all international forums. For his part, the Turkish president reiterated his country's firm support for the Palestinian people and the right to freedom, independence, and the establishment of their independent state on their national territory. In this context, the president of Turkey declared that the Israeli settlements are the biggest obstacle to solving the conflict.
Those who are falsely called settlers but actually encroach upon the lands of the Palestinians are the biggest obstacles to the solution. In the context of the upcoming month of Ramadan, we are conveying our message regarding the necessity of preventing provocations to the relevant authorities. The demands of radical Israeli politicians to restrict Muslims' entry to Masjid al-Haram are absolutely absurd.
A Hamas official said on Tuesday that talks seeking a pause in its conflict with Israel cannot go indefinitely. The statement came after U.S. President Joe Biden called on the group to accept a ceasefire deal.
The enemy will not obtain through the negotiating table what it has failed to obtain on the battlefield. The security and the safety of our people will not be achieved except with permanent ceasefire, the end of the aggression, and withdrawal from every inch of the Gaza Strip, providing urgent and appropriate shelter and bringing aid to our people. And people in Gaza is the highest priority, and any exchange process cannot take place before all of this is achieved.
In Brazil, the Sao Paulo administration decreed an emergency period due to dengue fever in the state arena, where more than 138,000 cases and 31 deaths have been reported. In the last days, the territorial division reported 31 lives lost to the disease, but another 122 deaths are still under investigation. The emergency state decision was taken by the Emergency Operations Center, coordinated by the State Health Secretary. The measure came after the territory that is also the most populated in the South American giant reached 300 confirmed cases of the disease for each group of 100,000 inhabitants in the last few days. The decree allows public managers to allocate resources to combat the disease more quickly and without the need for public tenders. In Ecuador, the number of people affected by the intense rain season increased, boosted by the El Niño weather phenomenon. According to the Secretariat of Risk Management, the number of people affected by the rains and floods is 1,171. It also revealed that the number of people affected has risen to 121,627 people, 7 deaths and 7 injuries. There are 82 homes destroyed, 26,839 with minor damage, along with 28 schools and 27 public properties destroyed. In turn, the Institute warned about rains and thunderstorms in Chone and Manabi, which are in the category of natural disaster. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In the United States, voters go to the polls in the decisive Super Tuesday, a primary election day that defines in a large part of the country the favorite for the Democrat and Republican nominations in 2024. There are 15 states and the territory of Samoa holding primary elections in which, on the Democratic side, Joe Biden, current president and candidate for a second term in the White House, measures the enthusiasm of voters towards him. On the Republican side, the struggle continues between former President Donald Trump and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who has on Tuesday her last chance to find out if she can continue in the race. The so-called Super Tuesday is a day in which a large number of individuals elected in each state to represent the Democratic or Republican Party at the national convention that determines a presidential candidate are at stake. The United States will hold presidential elections on Tuesday, November 5th of 2024, from which the 47th occupant of the Oval Office will emerge to lead the nation from January 2025 to January 2029. Congress will also be renewed in the 435 seats in the House of Representatives and 33 of the 100 seats in the Senate. In addition, governors and other state and local authorities will be elected. The anticipated revenge duel is between Biden and Trump. An independent candidate, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., will be competitive, but for some analysts, his presence on the ballot will only drain voters. In Argentina, demonstrators gathered for the second consecutive day outside the Telam building in protest against the illegal closure of this news agency implemented by President Javier Milei. In view of this decision of the Argentine government, hundreds of Telam workers were excused from their duties for a period of 7 days, where they will not be able to enter to fulfill their task. In this sense, more than 700 employees of the news agency went to the outskirts of the building on Monday, but later the building was fenced off by the local police. The Teachers Association of Uruguay holds a strike in several localities of the capital city to reject the cut in the education budget. At least 110 elementary and high schools remain closed due to the teachers' strike ordered by the Teachers Association. Some teachers denounced the withholding of salaries of some colleagues and allegedly accused of violating the separation of church and state. It is estimated that the teachers' strike will continue in the next few days and will extend to different parts of the Uruguayan capital until they receive answers from the national government. In China, the 14th National People's Assembly began its second session on Tuesday morning at the Great People's Palace in Beijing. Chinese Premier Li Qiang presented the report on the government's work at the meeting. Several Chinese leaders, such as President Xi Jinping, made an appearance together with 2,872 deputies of the Assembly. During the 7-day session, the deputies will analyze the report on the work proposal for the 2024 plan for the economic and social development of the country. The forum will also discuss the organic law of the Council of the State, the work reports of the Standing Committee of the National People's Assembly, the Supreme Court, and the Supreme People's Procurator's Office.
Achieving this year's targets will not be easy, so we need to maintain policy focus, work harder, and mobilize the concerted efforts of all sides. We will pursue progress while ensuring stability, promote the stability through progress, and work on the basis of establishing the new before discarding the old.
Russia celebrates the 2024 World Youth Festival with the participation of some 20,000 people from at least 180 countries in the city of Sochi, considered the world's largest youth gathering. The festival began this March 1st after an opening speech by Russian President Vladimir Putin in which he specified that the event received some 300,000 requests for participation from 190 countries. The meeting is scheduled to be held until March 7, host leaders of youth organizations, diplomats, young scientists, journalists, and businessmen. The appointment proposes the discussion of a future free of Western neocolonialism, respect for each nation, and the end of inequalities. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Venezuela's National Electoral Council announced Tuesday that the presidential elections in the Bolivarian nation will be held on July 28, 2024. The announcement was made by the president of the Electoral Authority, Elvis Amoroso, who also said the electoral registration will be from March 18th to April 16th, and that the presentation of candidates will take place from March 21 to March 25th. Amoroso also informed that the electoral campaign will begin on July 4th and will end on the 25th. The CNE's announcement comes after signed agreements following large-scale consultations throughout the political spectrum of the country.
In accordance with these legal faculties, the National Electoral Council evaluated the different proposals and recommendations and presented to the Board of Directors of the National Electoral Council in a permanent session held today, March the 5th. An electoral chronogram that contemplates all the constitutional, legal, and technical requirements to hold the presidential elections of 2024, approving first the elections or presidential election of 2024 on July the 28th of the current year. Second, to call for the electoral process today, March the 5th. Third, special day of national and international electoral registration from March the 18th to April the 16th.
Electoral nacional e internacional desde el 18 de marzo a el 16 de abril.
Fourth, preliminary electoral registration cut off on April the 16th. Fifth, presentation of nominations from March the 21st to 25th.
Quinto, presentación de postulación del 21 al 25 de marzo. Sexto,
Sixth, selection of the members of the subordinate bodies on March the 20th. Seventh, electoral campaign from July 4th to 25th.
Campaña electoral del 4 al 25 de julio. Desde el Consejo Nacional Electoral,
from the National Electoral Council, we congratulate the people of Venezuela, inviting them to participate with the best electoral system in the world.
Con el mejor sistema electoral del mundo.
The President of the National Assembly of Venezuela, Jorge Rodriguez, detailed the decisions taken by the National Electoral Council concerning the 2024 presidential election.
In the framework of the General Agreement of Caracas, the National Electoral Council made some decisions that strengthened the electoral chronogram and the electoral event of July 2024, but which are also contained in the agreements of Barbados and the agreements of Caracas.
Pero que además están contenidos en los acuerdos de Barbados y el acuerdo de Caracas. El Consejo Nacional Electoral ha convocado a una jornada especial de actualización del registro electoral con duración desde este próximo 18
The National Electoral Council has called for a special day for the update of the electoral registry from March 18th to April 16th, 2024. Nominations from March 21 to 25, applications of candidates for the presidency of the Republic between March 21 and March 25.
A la presidencia de la República entre el 21 y el 25 de marzo. Campaña electoral del 4 de julio de 2024 al 25 de julio del 2024.
Electoral campaign from July 4, 2024 to July 25, 2024. 22 days of electoral campaign. Elections on Sunday, July 28, and celebration and defense of the victory on Monday, July 29.
The people of Venezuela paid tribute to the legacy of the commander and leader of the Bolivarian Revolution, Hugo Rafael Chávez Frías, on the 11th anniversary of his death. From early hours, the people of Venezuela paid tribute to Hugo Chávez from different areas of Caracas, the capital of the country. The main event is taking place at the mountain barracks, where people may visit the remains of the commander and remember his legacy. It was expected at 4:30 p.m. local time in the afternoon. The authorities and those present took part in the gun salute in honor of the revolutionary leader. During the visit to her father's grave, Rosines Chávez Rodriguez expressed her pain at the physical departure of her father and assured that his memory gives her strength to fight for the dream of the homeland and a better world.
I have not been able to talk to you that for a few years, but the fact of thinking of you, of reading you, of listening to you, of studying you, of dreaming with you, of remembering you, and above all, of remembering your infinite love, give me back the strength to continue with words. I can't express how much I miss you. But I promise you that I try to transform that same pain day after day into an impulse for life itself. An impulse to be a better person, to grow and give the best of myself, an impulse to help, to dream and fight for a better world, an impulse to continue building this great and beautiful country that you dream so much and for which you fought so hard.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro announced on Tuesday the launching of a new mission to guarantee equality and justice in the Bolivarian nation's society. According to the Venezuelan head of state, the project, named Hugo Chavez's Great Mission for the Justice and Equality, is intended to heal the social wounds caused by 8 years of suffering, 930 criminal sanctions against the Venezuelan society and economy, to recover the people's well-being and to build the nation's future. The announcement was made at the Teresa Carreño Theater during the commemoration of the 11th anniversary of Commander Hugo Chavez's passing.
Today, March 5, in honor to the 11th anniversary of our commander Hugo Chavez, is born in the firmament of Venezuela to lovingly protect the people, the great mission of new generation, equality and social justice, the great mission Hugo Chavez, to the countryside, to the streets, to the neighborhoods, to the cities.
In Nicaragua, a special session was held at the National Parliament in commemoration of the anniversary of the passing of the leader of the Venezuelan Revolution, Hugo Chavez. In the solemn session, the Nicaraguan Congress expressed its solidarity and highlighted the bonds of friendship between Venezuela and Nicaragua. The Parliament honored the man who gave impulse to the Bolivarian Revolution and that Hugo Chavez's legacy has crossed borders for the benefit of the Latin American peoples. The deputy highlighted the anti-imperialist work of Commander Chavez, the same feat performed by the national hero, General Augusto Cesar Sandino. At the same time, the Parliamentary Group of Friendship with Venezuela highlighted the lasting legacy of the Venezuelan leader and emphasized that the ideologies, anti-imperialist struggles, and the dream of a free and sovereign homeland promoted by Chavez continue to resonate in the minds. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.